Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 2 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for being here.
Tonight, we're introducing a new type of episode called Observation Deck. This type of episode involves a bit more of a deep dive into the topic at hand. Pam considered other terms, yet they all made her think of something that wasn't what she had in mind. If you have a better idea, please make a recommendation. In cybersecurity news, Clearfake is still around. It's still, have a report of it infecting 9,300 sites, mostly around auto dealers. And this time it happened because one bozo in a video streaming company that the auto dealers use to showcase their cars. One bozo in that video streaming company copied this code into PowerShell on their computer and essentially help the bad guys infect their network.
Don't help the bad guys.
Yay. Also, had a bit of news here. Zooniverse project, cloud spotting on Mars. We covered that a while ago. They actually have a webinar where they talk about the clouds from both planets, basically comparing Earth and Mars.
Cool.
And some background on different cloud types and stuff like that. So let me...
It's 28th, so next Friday, basically.
Yeah.
In the morning, though, here, 9 a.m. Pacific Time,
yeah.
12 noon Eastern Time.
Yeah, I won't be able to make it because I...
and I didn't know about it, so I would have plotted out some other times for you.
Yeah. But
or you can add the register. So yeah. Jeff's going to add that link to register into the chat. It should be clickable when he does it that way. So stay tuned. Oh, and I see we have a comment. Nothing like planning. Nothing at all.
There we go. There's the link for.
And Janie, thanks for being here. We really appreciate that. Happy Friday. Oh, you like observation deck? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
That's what she said.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Tonight's observation deck is Williams and Wilmore. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. There's a link to that book in the description.
Woo!
See, I got it right this time.
Yes, you did.
So, stranded or strategic? Astronauts Williams and Moore, i.e. Suni and Butch, and their friends.
Two of their friends.
Yeah. Have been on the International Space Station, also known as the ISS, for much longer than the 8 days they expected to stay. They're finally being rescued, though there are some claims that this is an exaggeration of the situation. Determine for yourself during tonight's episode of our show. Okay, Pam, tell us about the recently landed astronauts.
Thanks, Jeff. I actually caught the departure from the space station last Monday night, our time. Crew 9 was coming home. They had a quick trip, too, after arriving on Earth less than 24 hours after they left the space station. It was like 1:05 in the morning Eastern Time to 5:57 p.m., about 17 hours. They got home in time for dinner. That's amazing. I'm really excited about this story. So 8 days versus 9 months. What was this extended stay about? And I have a quote from Spaceflight Now. Wilmore and Williams were launched last June 5th on the first piloted test flight of Boeing's Starliner astronaut ferry ship. The flight was originally expected to last about 8 days. I have a link to that.
Well,
do we want to put that in?
Sure. Given the fact that Boeing's ship has become kind of mythical, I guess it was a ferry ship.
So
maybe launched by their unicorn booster.
Looks like that has stayed all together in the chat, so hopefully it becomes a clickable link for you. Ultimately, they joined Crew 9 and stayed on space station for 9 months, all told. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have some really cool video. I'm actually going to play these. They're really short. Most of them are about a minute. And it's just really cool to see these images. Oops, let's get some volume maybe.
We're flying 260 statute miles over the Atlantic Ocean.
Initial capture and the grand arrival when Crew 10 arrives.
That's beautiful.
Now again, the station teams here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room to power cycling allows him to have the view from Dragon itself as it moves up towards the docking axis.
Once that happens, they will conduct a series of leak checks. And there on your screen, you just saw NASA astronaut Suni Williams actually floating.
Oh, here they're coming on board. So 4 new crew.
And Houston, thank you for tuning in this early morning. It was a wonderful day. Great to see our friends arrive. So thank you so much.
Astronauts to enter, and last commander of Crew 10 and McLean.
What a happy party that is. 11 of them all together on the space station. I kind of forgot that this is about the same, but just part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. And this one's quite a long video. It's over an hour. Maybe it's 3 hours. I forget. And the point I'm making with this and a whole bunch of these tabs is that so many of these claim that the astronauts were stuck. They were stuck, they were stranded, whatever. And I'm not going to read a lot of these because they were kind of just, oh, they're there, they got stuck, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't as interesting to me, and it didn't serve the point as much, like, what's going on here? Were they stuck? Was this a strategic move? Well, I'll talk about what I think at the end. So Spaceflight Now did a nice article on them. That's a wonderful picture, isn't it? So here they are, the 4 crew and 7 members already aboard, joined each other for a welcoming ceremony. Now, this might be where my quote came from, too. But you'll see that. I really just love the beautiful images. So I think a lot happened here. It got a lot of attention. And there they are getting ready to go home. And I'm going to go ahead. In fact, this one, it was live for a while. It was live and then it hung around for a while, but it's not even there to look at anymore. And just about everybody was talking about this. Breaking news after more than 9 months stranded in space, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have finally arrived back on Earth. So over and over again, we see this concept of them being stranded. Although this is someone from Facebook. I sort of know her as a Facebook friend, and she's real excited about it. This is so major. Watching live was mesmerizing. Love magic moments when they landed safely, and especially when the large pod of dolphins came to greet them. Isn't this beautiful imagery of these folks coming back to Earth and the dolphins going, hello? So there's a lot of really good stuff about it, I think. And I'm going to run this one too. It's only 47 seconds. Oops, let's get some volume on it so you can actually hear it.
All hooked open.
I think this
All
one's
hooks are open
when they're leaving.
and undocking confirmed.
Yep.
Freedom is free of its moorings.
Yeah, they're leaving at
Suni
1:05
Williams and
a.m.
Butch Wilmore
Eastern.
begin their belated trip home.
Separation confirmed.
Yeah, nice to see these photos. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Undocking occurring right on time at 12:05 a.m. Central Time, 1:05 a.m. Eastern Time.
That's one thing I appreciate about SpaceX. They do broadcast a lot of these great images, and they have cameras to show it. I think some of the launches in the past, we
Good
really
motion,
couldn't
good
see stuff.
stability on Dragon as it backs away.
So, whoops. So there they are coming home. Great news. Yay. And this one's quite a bit longer. This is an hour long. I'm not going to really run it for you, but they do cover the full splashdown and recovery of NASA SpaceX Crew 9 returning astronauts. So wonderful. And there were some articles in advance of this about, well, talking about, oh, they're stuck. It's watch how 2 astronauts were left in space for 9 months. I mean, these are BBC and AP and all sorts of different. Oh, I skipped one. I think that's the full. Splash down too. What a beautiful day they had too. Sorry, I missed that one. So, over and over again, we've talked about these poor astronauts. Stuck astronauts. And they have great pictures. So yeah, definitely, if you like this sort of thing, delve into it a little bit. It's kind of fascinating. Who are the NASA astronauts who've been stuck in space for 9 months? Boy, that picture is really popular, isn't it? So then it finally gets into some interesting things a little bit later on, because all these were sort of the same. They felt like the same kind of thing, and it wasn't really getting to the crux of the matter. So I kept digging. Left stranded. I mean, even Al Jazeera is saying they were stranded, right? ABC News. Who are these astronauts that got stuck and stranded? So yeah, lots and lots and lots of places until this guy. And so he had kind of a really different take on it, which I appreciate. I want to get a full rounded picture of the situation to help me understand. And there's a whole bunch of articles under his name that are not pertinent to us. So I'm going to just pop over to a couple that were. Can NASA remain nonpartisan when basic spaceflight truths are shredded? Let's bring them home now, sir. So this guy contends that, well, maybe that was a bunch of baloney. That these folks were just stranded. I do want to talk about some some funny things going on. Like they got there June the 5th. And this what's his name? Berger?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Eric Berger. He claims that they were never stranded, that this was all kind of a plan. Now, the astronauts themselves in several places have talked about, well, we are trained for these eventualities. We know that things can happen. They were both in the military. They had that kind of experience before as, personnel in the military. So they weren't like, they're very calm about it. They weren't upset about it. But, this guy is claiming that, yeah, this was a bunch of baloney. They were never really stranded.
No, Don's here.
Oh, hey, Don. Welcome.
Yeah, we're glad they got safely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So he's saying that this was all lies. That they weren't in fact stuck. They have a bunch of exclusive stories. I didn't look into these. I can. How much time do you have in a week to work on your project?
Yeah, you're going to get into his main contention here about why they weren't stranded.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the places that had it. Yeah, in February, President Trump and the chief executive of SpaceX, Elon Musk, began to say that the 2 astronauts were stranded in space because the Biden administration did not want to bring them home. They got left in space, Trump said. Yeah, you were looking at what?
Right there.
The reality is that NASA set a plan for the return of Wilmore and Williams last August. So what happened between June 5th and the week they were supposed to be there and August? I'm not sure.
Yeah, because he's saying that they're not stranded because as of August, it was scheduled to come back sometime this time. But yeah, as Pam said, what happened between June 5th and August? That's an awful lot more than 8 days right there.
Oh yeah, and so the plan was then, they can come back with they could become part of Crew 9 and come back when they come back, which is fine. And we've got some stuff from the current president, which is good. I do like to read as many perspectives and angles on things as I can. Now, I think a lot of things have to do with what they call clickbait. How do you get attention? Well, you say outrageous things. In fact, I've been trying to decide how to do that for us without going too overboard. we don't need to be seen as kooks or loons.
Too many people already know us.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here about, and I really like this question: can space remain nonpartisan? One of the common refrains about spaceflight for decades and decades is that it is nonpartisan. The Apollo program brought us together. So this is a pretty extensive article, and he's definitely of the opinion that nope, they weren't really stuck. Crew 10 launches, finally clearing the way for Butch and Suni to fly home. I mean, even that, finally clearing the way. Okay. I think there was some really good stuff in this one or the next tab. Let's see if we can find it again.
Yeah, the thing that I don't buy about his contention is that if it was a plan, then everyone would have known the plan much earlier. I mean, they would have been talking about the plan. It wouldn't have been, oh, why are they still there? They would have known why they're still there. So that's why I kind of like, nah, you kind of.
Well, and maybe this person knows things that we do not.
Right,
which is fine.
But we're talking NASA, not NSA. Why did they keep it a secret?
Yeah, and even this, but things went sideways on their journey to space, and it's been a series of surprises since then. Well, when you plan stuff out, not that many surprises usually. I mean, there can be, but they didn't go sideways. They're maybe, but anyway.
Well, Boeing kind of dropped the ball on its launcher. Oh, hey, Cliff.
Hey, Cliff. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
He is right that they made the plan to return the astronauts in. Is there more?
I'm thinking August is what she wanted to say, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn. But the trouble is that they weren't stuck from August till now, but they were stuck from June through August. Is that? I mean, that's what we have to believe, is that suddenly in August they made a plan and suddenly they weren't stuck. I think.
Well, my whole point here is that I don't think we ever really have the full picture of anything unless we dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. And that could go for any particular issue of any sort. And you really have to decide what you're going to learn about more. And this is one of the things I wanted to learn about more. So I did some digging into it. All right, so let's see. Yeah, we got another.
Yep. Yes, it was about a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'm desperately downloading all those because Facebook has decided that they are no longer going to host live shows beyond 30 days. So I'm scrambling to get them all.
Yeah. So
because there's some stuff that wasn't anywhere else.
Yeah, because not all of those ended up on YouTube. So
right. Then
it's going to be posting them on YouTube so that they're at least somewhere where people can see them.
So I think I'm going to run through these because there's some good stuff in here. Wilmore and Williams launched on the first crew flight of Boeing Starliner spacecraft on June 5th. So we've established that it's June 5th, 2024. During the flight to the ISS, the vehicle has thruster issues and helium leaks. Okay, we get that. In August, NASA announces Starliner will return to Earth uncrewed due to unresolved technical issues. Okay, so right there we're saying that, here's the first step in this process, that something happened with their return trip, and they're not going to come back on it. It's going to come back empty.
So they were stuck because they didn't want to use they were trying to figure out if they could use the Starliner. So they were stuck from let's say 8 days after June 5th, because they were supposed to come back 8 days after that. So from June 13th through August, when they came up with a plan to say they're not stuck, they're just supposed to be up there.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. They, it may be a factor of they didn't quite explain it well enough or something. I'm not sure. So Crew 9 mission launches with just 2 astronauts, and then Suni and Butch become the other 2 of Crew 9. They join Crew 9, extending their flight from 8 days to more than 8 months. After SpaceX experiences development issues with Crew Dragon, the Crew 9's return is delayed again. In February 2025, Elon Musk and Donald Trump politicized Wilmores and Williams. And see, using that word right there, I don't know that it's reporting. If you use a word like that to spin this in your particular idea. I mean, to me, it's give you the information, let you figure it out for what you have learned here, what you understand, what you want to dig into some more. I think we got another comment.
Yeah, because the main thing is that does he have any information that tells us that Elon and Donald Trump didn't think that they were stuck there, didn't think that they were stranded?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. He is right that they made the plan to return the astronauts in March, but they were stranded by the Starliner returning to Earth empty. Sorry, I accidentally hit enter. Yeah.
Boy, I know how that is.
Could you imagine what would have happened if they didn't make it back? Yeah.
Well, and here's my thing about the whole thing. Oh, gee, I have to be stuck on the space station for longer than 8 days. Shucky darn. You know, what a terrible thing. Not really. So, you know, all these people are saying that this was a lie. And yet, you know, and I get to a page that was much longer yesterday. And I'll describe what I saw yesterday. Musk recommends the space station be deorbited. What? And it's quite old now, and it's only 3 years ahead of schedule. So we'll see. I mean, something could happen any day, and it would have to be decommissioned somehow. I mean, they could get hit by some kind of rock. I don't know.
Well, and they do have a plan to decrew it in the case of an emergency, and so yeah, there are minimum crew levels there, but they do have plans for if it goes down to 0 crew, how do they recrew it, and how much work does it take to recrew it?
Yeah, that's a big deal. If everybody has to leave to get it back up and running. I think Cliff came in.
Yeah, because first, yeah.
Well, and that's part of my thought here too, is that, you know, with all these other people saying, we saw all those tabs from, you know, ABC and AP and lots and lots and lots of different angle news media were saying they were stuck.
Yeah, so it wasn't, them being stuck was not a partisan statement. It was all, you know, all ends of the spectrum were saying that they were stuck. So suddenly now they weren't stuck. That's the thing.
We were looking at this before some of those statements were made by the president. All right, so I think it's in here that I saw some good stuff that I wanted to discuss with you as well. Let's see. Over the last month, there's been something more than a minor kerfluffle. That's a technical term. In the space industry over the return of 2 NASA astronauts from the International Space Station. The fate of Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who launched on the first crew flight of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft June 5th, has become a political issue after President Donald Trump and SpaceX founder Elon Musk said the astronauts' return was held up by the Biden White House. Okay, so now we're getting another dimension of all of this.
And this is where it actually starts to get political right there. Not that they were stuck, not that they needed to come back, but by claiming that it was purposely done, that's where it gets political. You know, but up until that point, you know, all of the claims weren't really political. But and Naomi says that's so true, Cliff. Basically that the conspiracy theorists went crazy over it.
Yeah, I try really hard to stay calm, to look at all the different angles, to try and understand and not go down a conspiracy rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to do that before I know a whole lot more about a subject. And I know that I am very ignorant about a lot of things, because who's got time to spend hours and hours and hours delving into every single little thing ever, anywhere?
Right. Well, and I see two possibilities with this, saying that the Biden held it up, and their stated reason is so that Musk wouldn't have a win. Therefore, Trump wouldn't have a win before the election. That's one of the contentions. I
Yeah.
think the other possibility is just they didn't care. I mean, it wasn't on their radar. Politically, it wasn't on their
And
radar.
that's true for a lot of administrations.
Because-
Space isn't as big a deal
Right.
as I think it really should be, because
Yeah.
it's returned so much to us in so many
Right.
different ways,
Right.
tangible and intangible.
Right. I mean, I'm pretty sure they just had other things on their plate. Like they were really big into climate change stuff. It seems to be gone away now. They'd rather burn up Teslas than, drive electric cars right now.
Well, and my
But-
thought was like, well, why the heck doesn't Biden bring back the astronauts, make it a win for the Biden administration? I think that would have been smart for
Right.
them to do.
But I think they were it wasn't on their radar, or it could
Quite
be,
possibly.
and who knows, there were probably multiple reasons for it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
different people in staff positions probably had different reasons for it, even if there was no reason, as in it just wasn't on their radar.
Yeah. And honestly, every single issue has a whole plethora of things happening with it, and every single person has their spectrum of idea of what this means for anything. And there's a lot of people who don't think it means anything. They don't care about space at all, but we do.
Until space comes screaming down through the sky and makes a crater where their city used to be.
Yes. So I did go into this this right here after this interview. A Danish astronaut named Andreas Mogensen asserted that Musk was lying. What a lie, Mogensen wrote on the social media site Musk owns X. And from someone who complains about lack of honesty from the mainstream media. I actually pulled that up, and I will I'll bring it up in a minute. But so okay, so what does this guy know? We don't know.
Yeah. And how does he know that Musk knows it's a lie? I mean, it's very possible that, because there's a reasonable, you can make a reasonable contention that what Musk said is possibly true. I mean,
and unfortunately, Musk, kind of like Donald Trump, sort of responds with very is the word inflammatory?
yeah, inflammatory.
Well, inflammatory response. In this case, you are fully the R word. Musk wrote, SpaceX could have brought them back several months ago. I offered this directly to the Biden administration, and they refused. Return was pushed back for political reasons. And I don't get why it would, because, let Biden have the win. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got another comment, right?
Hang on. There seems to be an army of idiots sitting around just trying to find anything to make up into some story. Doesn't matter how stupid it sounds. Yeah.
So what's the truth? And I think this is a brilliant question. What is the truth? In this case, he goes to say NASA has not directly answered questions about this over the last month. Interesting. However, the people who really know the answer lie within the human spaceflight programs at the space agency. Makes sense? After one news conference was canceled last month, two key NASA officials were finally made available on a media teleconference on Friday evening. These were Ken Bowersox, Associate Administrator, Space Operations Mission Directorate, and Steve Stitch, Manager of NASA's Commercial Crew Program, which is responsible for Starliner and Crew Dragon flights. Musk is essentially making two claims. First, he is saying that last year SpaceX offered to bring Wilmore and Williams home from the ISS and made the offer directly to the Biden administration, and the offer was refused for political reasons. Second, Musk says that at Trump's request, the return of Wilmore and Williams was accelerated. The pair is now likely to return home to Earth as part of the Crew 9 mission later this month, about a week after the launch of a new group of astronauts to the space station, that being Crew 10.
Mm-hmm.
They have a launch date of March 12th. I think it was delayed a day.
Mm-hmm.
So Wilmore and Williams could finally fly home about 2 weeks from now. He wants to examine each of Musk's claims in light of what Bowersox and Stitch said Friday. I saw the comment come in, yeah.
Yeah. Don says, politics aside, we always had the ability to return them. The station only has so many ports, and some are occupied by emergency return vehicles.
Right.
the return schedule, it was about logistics.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So, sure, I get that. But it's just weird how, like, for all these months,
Yeah.
it
And-
was.
And I actually agree with Dawn on this,
Mhm.
in that you have emergency return vehicles for emergencies. And if they took one of the two vehicles, because there's a Soyuz up there also, and a,
Yep.
and a Dragon, if they took one of the two return vehicles and left people up there, then if there's an emergency, they don't have an emergency return vehicle. So
Yeah, because only
it's a
so
reason
many.
it's a reason to not use those
Right.
to bring them down.
Because only so many people can fit in each one of them. I think even like 6 crowded into one would be pretty rough.
Right.
But it's
But
not like
if
they're
it was an emergency, they'd do it. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, in an emergency situation, we all do things that aren't normal.
Right.
So yeah, he goes into July 14th last year. NASA awarded SpaceX a special contract to study various options to bring Wilmore and Williams home on a Crew Dragon vehicle. At the time, the space agency was considering options if Starliner was determined to be unsafe. Among the options NASA considered were flying Wilmore and Williams home on the Crew 8 vehicle attached to the station, which would put an unprecedented 6 people in the capsule, or asking SpaceX to autonomously fly a Dragon to the station to return Wilmore and Williams separately. The SpaceX folks helped us with a lot of options for how we would bring Butch and Suni home on a Dragon in a contingency. Bowersock said during Friday's teleconference, when it comes to adding on missions or bringing a capsule home early, those were always options, but we ruled them out pretty quickly just based on how much money we've got in our budget. See, that's another consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And the importance of keeping crews on the International Space Station. They're an important part of maintaining the station. Okay, so there's a factor that I don't think is really obvious to a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. There's minimum crew, but there's also minimum number of jobs. And I don't know if you've got it up here, but one of the things that I talked about was each crew member is trained in a set of jobs. And one of the things that I read contended that if these two left, there would be some jobs that weren't, the ones left wouldn't, that were still up there weren't trained for. But
Okay, I didn't see that.
yeah, but what
So there should be some overlap, but maybe there wasn't enough.
right. But what makes that weird to me is that they were supposed to come back in 8 days.
Yeah.
So what's the,
What's
what
the
are
difference
what are the
between-
jobs that are missing?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been missing if they'd have come back in 8 days if Starliner had actually been a viable return vehicle.
So Daniel and then Naomi.
Yeah.
Make
Daniel
comments.
says Starliner failure was a black eye for Boeing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was probably another reason for not wanting to draw more attention to the situation. Yeah.
That's a good point. You make a very good point, Daniel. And
And
welcome. Thanks for being here.
And here's a possibility for that, Daniel. It might not have been political between Trump and Biden. It could have been political between Boeing and SpaceX,
Ah.
because Boeing has a lot of entrenchment into NASA. So,
You make a really good point too.
so Naomi says, I'm just wondering, when did SpaceX get involved in this collab? Was it back in the Biden administration or more recently? Well, this is saying that it was back in the Biden administration,
Right.
but Musk has said that he offered to bring them back early. But of course, here they're saying that NASA decided not to do it for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
However, if it had been seen as a political benefit, they would have been able to get them back. I mean, more money for that budget would have been made available for an emergency return. I mean,
That makes sense.
think of all of the other emergencies that may or may not have been emergencies that they spent money on.
Mm. Daniel had another comment.
Okay. The Boeing SpaceX rivalry is a big dynamic behind the situation as well. Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that may or may not have been more of an influence than politics.
I
You know,
can see that. Yeah.
then which party could have been the space company that everyone in NASA already knew, or SpaceX. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think Boeing has a long road ahead of them to bring this to viability and to recover their reputation. But it is a very, compared to SpaceX, it's quite a bit older company. It has a lot of things going on, and some of them, they phase in and out of being very effective. I mean, we're seeing some trouble with the planes right now, but the planes have consistently been incredibly good machines.
Right. And a lot of the trouble has been basically personnel. It's either in one of them, the guy who put the doors on was on vacation and they didn't have anyone else who knew how to do that job.
We call that a single point failure at Boeing.
Right. And everything else is maintenance. And that's not on Boeing. That's on the carriers.
Yep.
And then there's also a number of the incidences have been just crew failures, a pilot error. Like just recently, and I just heard this, I think it was this morning or yesterday morning, an airline tried to take off from the taxiway, not from the runway. Now, how do you do that? I mean, that to me is like, how, because I'll just let you guys know, I'm a trained pilot. I don't fly anymore, but I'm a trained pilot. And I ride a lot, but I'm not in the front seat. But there is no way, if you've got your eyes open, to try to take off on a taxiway and not do that either on purpose or be plastered. I mean.
So I think we're kind of veering off into the weeds now, but I saw Daniel has a comment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at least Boeing got the F-47 contract. Consolation prize. No, I mean, their fighters have always been pretty darn good, because they weren't really their fighters, but they ate a bunch of companies that made really good fighters. So they have, they have some
Boeing Collective. We used to call it.
Yeah, Boeing of Borg. But so, I mean, that is, I think, Daniel, is just regular business. I don't think that's necessarily a consolation prize. For one thing, different administration now, and so why do a consolation prize? Now they needed a new fighter, and it's not like SpaceX is making them. So I think that that they were just going off of how well it's made, how well the parts can be made,
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on Boeing. I mean, I worked there, and so I understood that, they had enough going on that even in cycles of where the government had more contracts versus the private sector, they were kind of covered. So they did a lot. But I want to get back to this because they were saying that when we laid all that out, the best option was really the one that we're embarking upon now, which is great. And so we did Crew 9, flying the 2 empty seats, flying a suit for Butch. And that was the other thing. They didn't have the right equipment. And also making sure that the seats were right for Butch's, and I don't know this word. We forgot to look it up.
Anthropometrics. Basically, human measurements. That's
okay.
Why he used that word instead of just Butch's measurements.
Yeah.
But
it gives us a chance to look up a new word. All right, so SpaceX has been working with NASA to present options, including the possibility of a return last fall. These discussions were being held within the program levels and their leaders. So I mean, and that's fine. It's the thing to me is to be honest about it. Let's be upfront about it. Yeah, something happened. They kind of got stuck there for a little while, but we've made plans. We've worked around it, and workarounds are great. They're great. They come up everywhere. Every business has them, and I think that's fine. But to try and get this so it's just butting heads, and I don't think that's going to be very helpful to all of us. It's ultimately.
And Cliff is helping some more. SpaceX fighter planes don't go far enough on batteries.
No. All right, and so there's a bunch more in here. But I really want to get to this thing here because this was that. Oh, I thought I brought this up. Sorry. This was that that post from this Dutch, and they've got the information here. He's a Dutch astronaut, and apparently he has some other information. So there was this interview, and they were talking about this. They were left there for political reasons, and yet there was a lot more of this yesterday when I was looking through it. And in fact, there's a bunch of stuff back. That's very weird. Wasn't this really short when we were in here earlier?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going on. Lots and lots of back and forth. And I don't think that we can ever really say things that are so outrageous that we can no longer talk to the other people in our circles.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is a good way to say that, because at some point things could be revealed that no, that's not in fact what happened. They have an interview with the astronaut Butch. Maybe it's here now. That that's pretty funny. They were asking him, well, did Musk in fact make an offer? And he said, yeah. Let's see. Turns out Elon Musk was telling the truth. Biden refused to let the stranded astronauts come home, and so I think here it says that he said. He also stated the return was delayed by the Biden administration for political reasons.
Well, and here's the thing: could have been political or could have been economic.
Yeah.
You know, if NASA just didn't want to spend the budget, then that didn't have to be political. It could have just been.
Oh, here's
economic.
the interview.
Yeah.
Stranded astronaut confirms Biden shot down Musk's offer to bring home the astronauts.
So maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't
knows?
have to be, but maybe.
Who knows? It's very hard to know what the heck is going on.
Yeah. Oh, and Dawn says, to answer Naomi, the SpaceX and Boeing got into the commercial crew program in 2011. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and Naomi says, okay, thank you, Astra. I think the Boeing SpaceX rivalry makes the most sense out of the conspiracy theories. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it because I'm doing research. I'm trying to get to the crux of the matter. But it's really great to have discussions with other people from different perspectives, because then we can go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that seems more likely than some of the other noise.
Yeah. And, you know, that doesn't mean that there wasn't some of the other in it, but, you know, it's kind of like, this is also nice because is not the reason you did something. You know, that's the.
Here's another video I'd like to play, and they said stuck too. So I don't know, but this is kind of cool video.
For those of you that have just recently joined, the Dragon had an on-time.
And they brought out
slowdown.
Suni.
Looks like we're getting our next crew member here. That is none other than Suni Williams. Big
How cool is
smile,
this?
big waves. She,
Yeah.
like her other crew
She's been in
members
zero G
now,
for a long
with
time, so she
assisted
needed help standing.
mobility aid.
Mobility aid. It's a freaking wheelchair.
So they're home, and I think ultimately that's
There we have it. Some waves, some thumbs up, and some smiles.
the most important thing.
Definitely seen.
Our astronauts are home, and they're safe,
Mhm.
and they get to go back to their family and their. I
Yep.
guess she's gonna miss her. She missed her Labradors.
Oh, and Janie says, who said you can only believe half of what you read? All I know is that there's a lot more I don't know. Grateful for this discussion and depth of research. Yeah, well, that's why we did this. You know, Pam thought of doing this because there's, you know, basically different groups saying different things, but maybe we can, by looking at all of them, come up with, you know, something that might be real.
And I think we may have done so. Boeing, SpaceX, maybe a little rivalry there. So there were some funny things too. Federal judge orders astronauts to be returned to space station. Wait, what? Oh, this is kind of cool too. 38 seconds. Let's run this one. Oops, let's get some volume on it. There we go.
that is there working on top of the Dragon capsule. Earlier, we saw that person performing safety checks. Now we can see
How
some
beautiful.
harnessing being placed around the capsule. This harnessing
Here's
is
the dolphins.
what will be used to lift the Dragon capsule out of the water and onto the recovery vessel. Wow, we got a cute little pod of dolphins. It wasn't just one or two.
How's
I
that
mean,
thing
that water
floating?
just-
I remember the Apollos had these big, huge rafts around them. Do you know? I don't
No,
know.
they must have made it lighter than, it's basically you displace enough water and you float.
That's true. Boats.
Yeah. And so they probably designed it that way instead of having to have an external float.
I think most of this is the same we just
Yeah.
saw. See
Oh,
if I
there's
can
him
find-
coming off.
Oh,
Butch
yeah, we
coming
didn't
off.
see Butch come off. So let's run a little bit of that. There's Sunny. Hello. Welcome
For
home.
8-day stay on the ISS, but due to technical issues with the Starliner spacecraft, including helium leaks and thruster malfunctions, their mission was extended to 9 months.
Oh,
During their extended mission, the astronauts played a pivotal role aboard the International Space Station, engaging in numerous scientific experiments and performing maintenance tasks. To ensure a safe return, NASA decided they would come back aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon. On March 18th, 2025, they left the International Space Station with 2 other crew members and safely splashed down off the coast of Florida.
that's a really nice summary. I like that a lot.
I just wish they didn't use an AI voice for it.
Oh, yeah. So this is kind of an interesting site. When I was doing my research, I actually talked to Dawn, my ex-fiance, about this, and he suggested NASAspaceflight.com, as well as talking to Leonard David. And, well, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, there's some really good stuff in here. Oh, that's going to be later. All right, bring us back.
Okay, first off, Cliff says we'll find out the real reason when the book comes out. No,
Maybe.
we'll just find the book writer's opinion about what happened.
Right. That's true.
There'll
So,
probably be 3 books that come out, and none of the 3 will. The 3 will probably all have different reasons, and probably none of the 3 will be right.
So I would just like to wrap it up a little bit and say that perhaps there is some truth in all the material that I found out this past week, but I really like that we had this discussion and we've decided that maybe it's more about this little rivalry. Williams and Wilmore may have been stuck between June and September while the fact of their presence on the space station was assessed, and once they were made part of Crew 9, they stayed until the right conditions allowed them to return. So many articles claim they were stuck or stranded, and maybe that was clickbait. Like almost everything, we would probably need to delve into this a lot more and find the right people to talk to who may have more information than that's never going to be made public. There is an interesting take on all of this. I found a little quote from, where does it say? It's pbs.org. Their plight captured the world's attention, giving new meaning to the phrase stuck at work and turning Butch and Suni into household names. While other astronauts had logged longer space flights over the decades, none had to deal with so much uncertainty or see the length of their mission expanded by so much. Some think the astronauts could have been brought home late last year. It sounds like maybe Elon offered and was turned down. We looked up the minimum crew size because that was one of the things. It's like, well, we need a certain amount of crew in order to run the space station. Well, maybe, because the minimum crew size was 3. And as you saw,
Except that's not a written minimum crew size. That's just the smallest
can't
crew
be
it's ever
lower.
had. No, that's just the smallest crew it's ever had.
Well, I thought you read that it can't be less than
No,
3 either.
No, just it's never been less than 3.
Okay. I misunderstood.
But they actually have a plan for 0 crew. It's just that makes it really hard to recrew it.
Yeah. I have a little bit more, so let me finish that. The International Space Station is aging and maintenance could be increasing as time goes by. That makes perfect sense. I would like it if politics could be kept from space exploration. We are human beings, though, so the ideal version of this is unlikely to last. Yeah, another comment.
Oh, yeah. Cliff said, 3 different types of stories. It just makes me think of the Vorlon's truth is a 3-edged sword. Your belief, their belief, and the real truth.
Yeah, Dawn's got a comment too.
And glad you covered this. Butch and Suni performed spacewalks when they're great astronauts. Yeah, they actually brought up a suit so that Butch could do his.
Yeah. The accomplishments galore. Unfortunately, it seems to have been taken to this kind of unsavory place, I think.
Mm-hmm. I heard the astronauts have a pretty big paycheck coming for all the extra time in orbit.
I didn't delve into that. I mean, like anything, you could do the research and try and find out, and there's probably still some stuff that you'll never know for practically everything.
Yeah. Okay. Some stellar events this week. March 21st through March 28th. March 21st, the next Globe at Night project begins. In the Northern Hemisphere, you can choose between Orion or Leo. In the Southern Hemisphere, you've got Crux. March 22nd, last quarter moon, and the moon runs low. And moon is in inferior conjunction.
That's Venus.
Or Venus is in, yeah, moon is in inferior conjunction whenever it's between us and the sun. Yeah. Which happens about once a month.
Please proceed.
I can keep digging. March 24th, Pluto and the moon are in conjunction, which, of course, you'll see the moon. And Mercury is in an inferior conjunction.
You ready for a comment? I like this one. You need at least one person to flip the SCA to AUX switch to save the day.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an inside joke. Where are you here?
Yeah. I already did that. Oh, March 24th. And Mercury is in inferior conjunction. I already did that. March 27th, Mercury and Neptune are in conjunction, of which you'll see Mercury if you're up there early enough. March 28th is a big day for astronomy. The moon is on the equator and is at ascending node. Mercury and the moon are in conjunction. Venus and the moon are in conjunction. Saturn and the moon are in conjunction. Neptune and the moon are in conjunction. It's a planetary orgy over there low on the west.
That's not what I wrote.
I know. I like Mindwave better.
Okay.
March 28th, Friday night show. We'll delve into an iconic space object. Stay tuned for more. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel.
What inspires you the most for the coming week? So if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. In fact, I've got a potential guest on the line. Join us again next Friday, March 28th. Jeff will tell us about the International Space Station, also known as ISS. The ISS is slated to be decommissioned in 2030. That's only 5 years from now. What a history, and soon it will be a memory. Come on back and learn more about the International Space Station next Friday. And our guest, potentially, sometimes it never works out, is going to be Leonard David. So, yeah, I was mentioning that before. Oh, you're very welcome, Naomi. Thanks. She says, thanks. That was very interesting and informative. Oh, yay. I'm so glad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point for me,
Mm-hmm.
to try and do that. So, shout out. Can we do a shout out?
Sure. Well, we've got Naomi, Cliff, Daniel, Dawn, Janie.
Where's Scott?
I don't see Scott.
I don't see Scott.
And
I think we got everybody.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. It's always a better show when you're here with us. I really appreciate that. And yeah, come on back next week.
Yeah.
I think we got a new one. I scrolled up too far.
Hang on. Me too. Hang on. Oh, I wish I was there again. Miss you, my friends. Oh, we miss you too, Cliff.
Likewise.
And Daniel says, astronauts are considered federal employees on official travel orders while in space. This means they receive a daily stipend for incidental expenses, just $5 per day.
Oh, so you were being sarcastic when you talked about their big...
Yeah.
But still, $5 a day for 171 days or whatever. I'll take that. Really appreciate that, Daniel and Cliff and everybody else. Thank you so much. Have a really great week, folks. We'll talk about Space Station next Friday. Good night.
Mm-hmm.